The music begins before she can object. Soft strings. A misur tempo. The kind of waltz that demands posture and patience rather than joy. She is standing at the edge of the ballroom when the Duke reaches her. "You're late," he says quietly. "I wasn't planning to dance," she replies, keeping her gaze forward. That was evident. The room glows with candlelight and expectation. Nobles cluster in small, watchful groups, their conversations carefully pitched to be overheard. At the far end of the hall, the Duke's mother sits elevated, her posture regal, her expression unreadable. The Duchess sees everything. The Duke extends his hand. She does not take it. "This means nothing," she says under her breath. "You said so yourself." "I did," he agrees. "Then don't make a spectacle of it." He steps closer, not touching but close enough that his presence shifts the air around her. "Too late," he says quietly. She's already watching. Her breath tightens. "I don't belong in the middle of your family politics. You belong where I place you," he replies calmly. She turns to face him. "You don't get to decide that." His gaze drops briefly to her mouth, then lifts again to her eyes. "I already have." The music swells. His hand closes gently but firmly around her wrist and guides it into his palm. The contact is brief, controlled, yet it sends a jolt through her she resents immediately. He places her other hand at his shoulder himself. "No askin. No hesitation." The Duke's arm settles at her waist, just low enough to be intimate, just high enough to be respectable. "This dance means nothing," she whispers as he draws her into motion. He pulls her closer, so subtly no one else would notice. "Tell that," he murmurs, "to my mother watching." Her pulse stutters. They move. The waltz carries them into the center of the floor, bodies aligned with practiced precision. He does not lead forcefully. He does not rush. His control is quieter than that, the kind that assumes compliance without demanding it. "You could have chosen anyone," she says through a polite smile. "Yes. And yet you chose me." "Yes. That was deliberate." "Yes." Her jaw tightens. "Why?" He guides her through a turn, hand firm at her back. "Because you don't reach for things you don't want," he says. "And that unsettles people. Or you enjoy unsettling them." "That too." She risks a glance toward the dais. The Duchess's gaze is fixed on them. Not curious. Evaluative. "She's assessing me," she murmurs. "She always does," he replies. "With everyone I stand beside. And she has not looked away." Her fingers curl slightly into the fabric of his coat. That's not comforting. It's confirmation. The dance ends. Applause rises politely around them. He does not release her immediately. The pause is brief but noticeable. Then he inclines his head, guiding her back toward the edge of the floor. Conversation resumes. The moment allegedly passes. Does not. "You made that worse," she says once they are out of immediate earshot. "I made it definitive," he corrects. "I told you this meant nothing. You told me you wanted it to," he replies. She stops walking. He stops with her. "That wasn't an invitation." "No," he agrees. "It was a defense." She folds her arms. "You enjoy pulling me into situations I can't easily escape. I enjoy seeing what you do when escape is possible," he replies calmly. Her breath catches. "And what have you seen?" "That you stay." She looks away. Dinner is announced shortly after. She is seated beside him. Not across. Beside. "You're escalating," she says quietly as servants pour wine. "Yes. And you're not going to explain why." "No." The Duke's mother watches them over the rim of her glass. The look is sharp, calculating. "She's going to speak to you," she murmurs. "Yes. And to me. Eventually." She lowers her voice. "I don't want to be interrogated." "You won't be," he says. "You can't promise that." "I can," he replies. "And I am." She studies him. "You sound very certain." "I am." The Duchess rises after dinner. Conversation stalls. Chairs scrape softly as people shift. She moves toward them. "I need air," she whispers. He stands immediately. So does the room. "Sit," she hisses. No, he replies calmly. That would be discourteous. They meet the Duchess halfway across the ballroom. My son, the Duchess says, eyes flicking briefly to her. You dance more selectively these days. Yes, the Duke replies. And yet tonight. She dances well, he says evenly. The Duchess's gaze sharpens. Yes, she says. She does. The pause stretches. Walk with me, the Duchess says to her. Not a request. The Duke's hand brushes her elbow, steadying. I'll be nearby, he murmurs. She follows the Duchess toward a quieter alcove. You're not what I expected, the Duchess says once they are alone. That makes two of us, she replies carefully. The older woman studies her openly now. You understand what that dance implied? Yes. And you allowed it? Yes. Why? She hesitates, then chooses honesty. Because he asked without asking, she says. And I didn't step away. The Duchess's lips curve slightly. That, she says, was noticed. Later, when she rejoins him, the Duke does not ask what was said. He waits. She knows this isn't nothing, she says quietly. Yes. And she's decided not to object. Also yes. She exhales slowly. You put me in her line of sight on purpose. Yes. And if she had disapproved? Then this evening would have ended differently, he replies. That's a risk. Yes. She looks at him fully now. You're treating me like a declaration. No, he says. I'm treating you like a question. And the answer? He meets her gaze steadily. Not yet. The music begins again. Another dance. Another opportunity. She shakes her head. I'm done being watched. He leans closer, voice low. You always were, he says. You just hadn't noticed. She turns to leave. He lets her go. That, more than anything, unsettles her. Because she realizes something she hadn't before. He didn't pull her closer to keep her. He did it so others would see her stay. And when she walked away, he didn't follow. Because the dance that mattered had already happened. And tomorrow, the watching would not stop. She does not sleep. Not because the room is unfamiliar or the bed uncomfortable, but because the ballroom follows her into the dark. The music. The hands at her waist. The weight of the Duchess's gaze like a measurement taken and recorded. By dawn, the house is already awake. She hears it in the quiet movements beyond her door. The careful rhythm of a place that does not improvise. This estate was not built for hesitation. Neither, she suspects, was its duke. When she enters the breakfast room, he is there. Standing, as if he has been waiting rather than passing time. You left without saying good night, he observes. You let me, she replies. Yes. The simplicity of it unsettles her more than pursuit would have. They sit. Not beside one another this time. Across. Distance deliberate. You turned my mother into an audience, she says quietly. Yes. You knew what that dance would suggest. Yes. And you didn't care whether I was ready for that. I cared very much, he replies. That's why I chose a moment where refusal was possible. She frowns. In the middle of the ballroom? You could have stepped back, he says. You could have embarrassed me. You could have forced correction. I could have, she agrees. But you didn't. No. Silence stretches. You're angry, he says. Yes. And you stayed. She presses her lips together. You keep saying that like it's evidence. It is, he replies calmly. Of willingness. That's not the same as consent. No, he agrees. It's the foundation of it. She exhales sharply. You speak like everything is already decided. No, he says. I speak like I know what I'm deciding. By midday, the household has shifted. Nothing overt. No announcement. But servants linger a fraction longer when addressing her. Doors open without hesitation. Invitations appear where they did not exist the day before. Visibility. The Duke's mother summons them both in the afternoon. Not privately. Publicly enough to matter. The Duchess sits near the tall windows, light cutting sharply across her silvered hair and composed expression. You caused conversation, she says to her son. Yes, the Duke replies. And speculation. Yes. She turns her gaze to her. You did not look surprised, the Duchess observes. I was, she replies carefully. I simply didn't retreat. The older woman studies her in silence. Why not? She asks. She could lie. She doesn't. Because I didn't want to be moved like furniture, she says. And because if I was going to be watched, I wanted to stand still. The Duchess's lips curve faintly. That, she says, is not nothing. The Duke remains silent. That dance, the Duchess continues, was not a promise, but it was a declaration of possibility. She meets the older woman's gaze. And what happens now? That, the Duchess says, depends on whether you intend to vanish. The question lands heavy. She glances at the Duke. He does not intervene. She answers anyway. No, she says. I don't. The Duchess nods once. Then you may stay, she says. For the season. The Duke's gaze sharpens slightly. And after? He asks. The Duchess looks between them. After, she says, we will see whether watching turns into certainty. That evening they walk the long gallery together. You didn't have to say yes, the Duke says quietly. No, she replies. But I did. Why? She stops walking. Because you didn't trap me, she says. You showed me the room and waited to see if I'd stand in it. He studies her carefully. That was intentional, he says. I know. And now? She takes a breath. Now I want to understand what you're doing. He nods once. Ask. You pulled me closer, she says. You let your mother watch. You let the court assume. Yes. And you still claim it meant nothing. It did, he replies. And the way you meant it. She narrows her eyes. Explain. That dance was not a vow, he says. Not a claim. Not a promise. Then what was it? A test, he says. Of visibility. Her chest tightens. You test people a lot. Yes. And what did I prove? That you do not disappear when attention sharpens, he says. And that you don't confuse proximity with surrender. She absorbs that slowly. And what did you prove? She asks. He considers. That I will not deny what I am willing to stand behind, he says. In public. The days that follow are measured. They are seen together but not inseparably. He does not hover. She is not hidden. Their interactions are precise, intentional, observed. The watching intensifies. And then slowly it changes. Curiosity turns into assumption. Assumption turns into acceptance. One evening at another gathering, someone refers to her as expected. No one corrects them. Later, she confronts him in the quiet of the terrace. This is becoming real, she says. Yes. And you're still not asking me for anything. No. She steps closer. Why? Because what I want, he says, cannot be taken. Her breath catches. And what is that? He meets her gaze fully. Your decision, he says, made without pressure. She studies him, the calm authority, the restraint that never once slipped into force. You could have claimed me that night, she says. Everyone would have believed it. Yes. But you didn't. No. Why? Because I don't want belief, he says. I want alignment. The word settles deep. The final evening of the season arrives quietly. No grand announcement. No formal request. They stand together at the edge of the ballroom once more. The same music plays. The same floor gleams. Will you dance? He asks. This time he does not move closer. He waits. She looks at his hand, then up at his face. Yes, she says. He offers his hand. She takes it. This time when he pulls her close, it is not for the audience. It is because she steps into the space willingly. The Duchess watches. So does the room. But something is different now. When the music ends, he does not release her immediately. Neither does she pull away. This means something, she says softly. Yes, he agrees. And your mother? She already knows, he replies. She exhales, a quiet laugh escaping her. You're infuriating. Yes. But honest. Yes. And patient. He inclines his head slightly. Only where it matters.